This is Debt Free in 30, where every week we take 30 minutes and get practical advice from industry experts about personal finance and living debt-free. Here's your host, Doug Hoyes.
There's a lot of bad advice out there. I see it on YouTube, Twitter, and Reddit, and in personal finance blogs. And it seems that one of the most popular areas to give bad advice is how to improve your credit score. So today, I'm joined by Scott Terrio, and we're going to share and debunk the bad advice that you can get on the internet for improving your credit score. You ready to go here, Scott?
Yeah, I think that's great fun.
So, well, and I'm of course I've picked this topic because this is the one I know that riles you up. So
yeah, it's one of my top five. Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
sure.
if Ted Michaelis was here, we'd be talking about payday loans. You see, so I know where the needles need to be stuck in people.
Yeah,
so for you, this is
great
a big
needle
one.
for me. Yeah,
and we're here in our Toronto office at Young and King, and you meet with a lot of people, like literally every day, who are bringing in their credit reports because hey, I got a lot of debt. I think I need to go bankrupt, file a proposal, whatever. I don't know who I owe money to.
Yep.
So
yeah, usually that's the start or the impetus of the credit report. Like, I mean, if you know all your debts, you come in with a list of statements, and we're good to go. But a lot of people, especially of a certain age demographic, are bringing in credit reports. So the younger, the more chance that they're going to plop, any one of, take your pick of 2 or 3 credit report companies onto my desk, and we say, okay, let's go through this. So, of course, on page 1, prominently listed at the top is the infamous 3-digit score. And so you would think somebody in an insolvency office who is, saying, look, I can't keep this up anymore. I'm probably gainfully employed, but I have such a financial mess in my hands here that I'm in seeing you to file either a bankruptcy or a proposal. And of course, you would think that score would be terribly low. And most of them are either surprisingly high or really high.
Yeah, and
is what I'd say.
The reason that happens, of course, is because your credit score is a measure of how good a client you would be for the bank. And so if you're paying your credit, you're paying your bills like the minimum payment, then that keeps your credit score high.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to talk about why these are problems.
Yep.
So let's start with, probably the most common piece of advice, but you see it all the time, and that is, well, you want to raise your credit limit.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
The higher the credit limit, the better. So if the bank, defaults to giving you a $5,000 limit, well, you want to get it up to 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40.
Yeah.
So is that good advice? Well, and I'll tell you why it's good advice. If I need to go out and buy something for $10,000, a $5,000 limit isn't going to do it for me. So I totally understand why that advice would be there.
Yeah.
Why is that potentially not great advice?
Because the other party that would really like you to raise your credit limit is the bank.
Which is why they want to do it.
And like 30, 40 years ago, banks were kind of different, right? I wouldn't say they looked out for you, but when you went in, they would give you advice. They would help you kind of steer through the financial quagmire that is life. And now they sell you stuff largely. I mean, it's, there's commission attached to this stuff. And so if I can lob, a couple more $5,000 limits at you, I know eventually you're probably going to use them. Now, you might use them for that one-time purchase and then pay it off. I'm still going to make money as a bank. But more than likely what's going to happen is if you look at the broad, market of consumers with credit cards, you know what? The more limits they've got, the more they're going to use them. And so this is part of the issue is that's great advice for someone who's micro-gaming the system maybe. I don't necessarily believe that, by the way, but it's really great advice if you're the banks because you're sitting back and just, recording record quarterly profits from it. So.
Yeah, and so the problem is, you might use it. This is the central problem.
You very well might use it.
And the second one on my list here is that you should have many credit cards. So you and I, just before we started filming this, were watching a YouTube video by a guy who had 10 credit cards.
Intentionally,
and then just got an 11th one. And so he was explaining why I got card number 11.
And he didn't get them the way people do, sort of in normal life where, over the course of 5 or 10 years, life happens.
You get
and
an
run
offer
into
in the mail.
Right, and you run into issues and, you I don't know, maybe it's a job loss or something where, you had to resort to credit, I get that, and then another bad thing happened to you and you ended up with 10. This guy went and got 10 specifically for his video, really, but that's why he did it. It was like an experiment to prove, okay, here's how 10 cards can help you out big time.
Yeah, and his argument was, each card has different attributes. So this one I get points, this one I get miles, this one I get this one I get that.
Right.
And every card you get, well, a lot of them, they'll give you some kind of welcoming bonus.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's 50,000 points for signing up.
Yep.
So his argument was, well, why not?
Right.
And now he then said, but you got to be very careful to pay them off in full every month and don't go over your limit and all the rest of it.
As an afterthought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so...
As though that wasn't something that, oh, by the way, make sure you keep these under control.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds like human nature to me.
But what's the problem with that advice?
Yeah.
So let's say this particular card gives me benefits if I go to the grocery store, and this particular one gives me benefits if I buy gas for my car.
Right.
So why not have two different cards to maximize the rewards I'm getting?
Right. Well, because temptation. I know that even factoring out the work that we do, okay, and just going out into the normal world where people have credit, I just think that if you have that kind of thing in your hands, it isn't just going to be emergencies where you use them. That's not how this works, okay? People start to get into the habit of using credit as opposed to debit. I mean, debit is cash. Debit is cash flow. Credit is not, unless you're faithfully paying it back every month. Well, how many people are doing that? So I think the thing that caught me about what he was saying about how many credit cards I have, okay, here's 10. So he said, I'm going to quote him because he did a YouTube video. So you know what? It's out there. Yep. So he said, spending money I would have spent anyway. I call bunk on that one because the people that I see, and it isn't just people who have to file an insolvency, but if you have a credit card, that isn't cash. It's borrowing. So, but people get in the habit of this, right? And so they say, cha-ching, cha-ching, I'll buy this and that. And then at the end of the month, oh, hold on a second. Canadians have no savings. And a lot of them are underemployed, et cetera, so you don't pay it off. The other thing he said that I'm quoting, the more credit you have available to you, the less likely you are to use all of it. This is my personal favorite on here because
sounds somewhat counterintuitive.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a kid a bag of candy and tell him only eat one of these, okay?
Yeah.
So,
and it would be better to give that kid a huge bag of candy,
right?
And he'd be more likely to only eat one.
Well,
of them.
Here's what he said. So he says. He says, the more credit you have available to you, the less likely you are to use all of it. So, okay. So what he's trying to get at there in his fashion is that there's an element to the credit score that kind of gets around this, where, the credit scoring, the mysterious credit scoring system for which no one knows the formula and for which the banks don't actually see the same score as you see, is somehow going to reward you by having all these credit limits, because what's the likelihood you're going to use them all? There's so much.
Well, so let's talk about that. So what you're referring to is utilization.
Right. And here's my answer to that. Tell that to the guy who just walked into my office with 8 credit cards, all maxed out, $130,000 owing in high interest debt, and he has an 812 credit score, and he's here to file a bankruptcy.
Yeah, and the perfect credit score is 900, so 812 is really good.
That's rock star credit.
That's solid.
Yeah, and it's not like I just seen one of those. Okay, so anybody's saying, oh, well, that's an outlier. No, it is not an outlier. I mean, I see a lot of 700s, which is also really good credit. Yeah. But these people are maxed out, and so they didn't take this guy's advice, did they? I mean, it's just the problem is that life comes at you with problems, and if you have those limits, what are you going to do with it? Right?
You're likely to use them. And,
I think so. Yeah.
I think we've talked about this on previous videos, and I just did one a week or two ago about why I don't like free credit scores. So it's the same kind of concept, but utilization is the percentage of the total that you're using. So I've got a $10,000 limit on my card.
Right.
If I carry a balance of $2,000, then I'm only utilizing 20%.
Right.
That's pretty good. And so what these guys are saying is, well, if you get 10 cards that are all $10,000, that's $100,000 of available credit.
Yes.
So if you're only utilizing 20,000, that's a really good thing.
Right.
That's why your credit score can be 812.
Right.
But if you've got $20,000, if you're carrying a $20,000 balance
at 18.5% minimum,
I can't do the math, but it's a big number.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A really big
so
number.
Now what you're doing is you're riding your credit, and so is it good enough to game the system for the extra? I don't know how many points, because no one knows, including this guy. In order to carry a balance for 10 or 15 years where you're paying untold interest.
Well, and now you're getting to the crux of it. So, and we'll come back to the list of these crazy advice.
Yeah, we go all over the place.
But I think this is the crux of it, and this is really why we want to do this podcast.
Yeah.
What you have to do is think.
Yeah. You have to step back, right?
You have to step back.
You have to look big picture. Like when I have disseminated all this stuff on my desk and there's paper everywhere and okay. So then I say, let's talk about doing, I don't know, a proposal. And we map all that out, do the math and everything. So once you have done your consumer proposal and gotten rid of all this mess, now what you're saying is, okay, I have an R7 rating for 3 years. Okay, well, what's a 7 mean? A 7 means to anybody who's looking that you have filed some kind of a legal settlement with your unsecured creditors. They have agreed to it, and you have paid it fully. Now, I see that as optics. That looks pretty good. And people even come in saying, I don't want to do a bankruptcy. I want to pay something. That's exactly what they all say. So that's what you're doing. So when you are at that R7 stage with the 3 years on your credit bureau after the proposal, they see the optics. They also, how much debt have you got at that point, Doug? None.
Yeah, none. You've wiped it out. That was the whole point.
So you have no debt. Now, okay, so then they're going to have people say, yeah, but the system doesn't reward you having no debt. I know that. But who cares about the system? You have no debt, right? Like, try going and getting a mortgage when you have no debt and an R7. They're going to give you a mortgage. Your debt service ratio is zilch, right?
Well, and the ability to borrow is based on many things. Your credit, whether you got an R7 is one of them, but how much of a down payment do you have? What kind of a job do you have? What kind of income are you earning? How long have you lived at the same place? There's a whole bunch of different things.
And how are you going to save up the $80,000 down payment if you're trying to pay back, what did you say? $20,000 on a credit card. Like, how are you going to get the $80,000? At what point are you going to do that?
Well, and this comes back to my point that you said step back. I say think. It's the same concept.
Big picture. Yeah.
So, okay, so I've got a credit card that carries a $1,000 balance. It's a 19% interest rate. So I guess that's $190 a year in interest. So $200.
Right.
If I didn't have that credit card and I wasn't carrying a balance, I could put that $200 into savings. And when you multiply it by, 10 times because it's $10,000, well, now we're talking a couple of grand a year.
And then instead of resorting to credit to pay a bill you weren't expecting to pay, you would have cash to do it.
You got the cash there.
Right.
And so you literally do have to step back and think. So, okay, I'm earning these airline points, even though I never travel, so I don't know why I need airline points.
And good luck redeeming them, by the way.
And
if you want to fly to Winnipeg in January, you could probably go. If you want to go to Cuba, nope, sorry, can't do that one. That's a restricted. Yeah.
So you really got to look at the cost of getting the points that you're doing, and then compare that with
because one of the things he went out of his way to do there on his video was to quantify financially how much each of these rewards things, like the equivalent of cash. Okay, so great, fine, that's good, but it isn't cash, right? It's tied up in something, and there's restrictions. Like he was talking about the VIP lounge in the airport. Okay, well, so right, if you're traveling enough for that, that's fine. But is that worth all that, right? Like you're getting all these credit cards and you're saying, okay, well, now I can sit in the lounge and I can go to Cuba in the summer when it's already hot at home, and
Well, in the lounge, if you pay $50, they let you go in it anyways. Anyone can get in there,
and you don't have 40,000 credit card debt to do so.
Yeah, and then all the hassles of it. So I think that's our central message here. You really got to think about what you're getting.
Yeah.
So now one of the other things, this was a different video we watched, where they said, don't pay off your cards early. And I guess this is, again, because of this whole utilization thing. Well, you got to be carrying a balance or else your credit score will go down. Well, that sounds moronic to me.
Yeah.
Because you're paying interest.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty much that simple, right?
Right. Yeah. And you're paying it potentially over a really long time here. Like the way banks make money is interest plus time. And that's not anything modern. That's not like 2018.
Many thousands of years old.
Back in the marketplace in Cairo, when they were building the pyramids, it was the same thing. Okay, I'm going to lend you X hundred ducats, and I'd prefer if you paid it over a long time, frankly, because my interest rate is whatever. So this is nothing new. Okay, and it's not a secret to anybody. But yeah, you're saying don't pay the credit cards off early. I'm saying that's exactly what you shouldn't be doing because of what we see in our work. I mean, because nothing ever starts off. Nobody starts off with $100,000 in credit card debt. They start off with 5, and then they get 10, and then they get another card, and then they bring it down a bit. Oh, then something happens, job loss, events, right? So it always builds and it always sneaks up on you. I think.
And it's not like we've never seen someone with $100,000 of credit cards this week.
Yeah, or even today.
Yeah. So this is something that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And the other thing the advice that's out there is you want to show growth.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
So like this guy who had 10 credit cards, well, 2 years ago he only had 9 or 8 or whatever. So by continuing to grow the amount of available credit, get a new card every few months.
Right. Think about that. And also, that element of the credit score is like 10%. So think about what we're doing here. Like you're saying, okay, keep growing your credit card base, right? And all the downside of that. For what, 10% of your score? I think it is. And again, nobody knows the formula. We just know the elements that go into it. So it doesn't even like that's 90% of the score. So you want to make damn sure you do that. It's so minor that like really, is it even a thing? To be adding like credit every few months.
Yeah. Every few months, get another credit card. Don't cancel any of the
old ones. It's like a quarterly thing. So every quarter, I'm going to add a credit card.
And I understand that history is important. The longer I've had a credit card, the better. So if I get a new one, I certainly don't want to cancel an old one,
right? Because
I got to keep growing.
Well, unless you don't care so much about the whole thing, right? Like what I tell people is, in the future, 10 years from now, when you and your husband are deciding to have kids and get a house, when you're sitting across from a lender, whether it's a car loan or a mortgage agent or a landlord, what that person wants is to have somebody that they know that is going to pay back what they're lending. That's first and foremost. And so if you have no debt, I'm way more comfortable, right? Than someone who has, that 30 grand sitting there trying to build their credit score. And if you're next to that other person, even if that other person has filed a proposal, so what? That's in the past, right? Now you have no debt and you probably have had enough time because of the proposal or whatever to save up a down payment, because otherwise you're not even in the office, right?
Yeah, and it's a pretty easy thought experiment. So I'm a landlord. Someone's coming to rent an apartment from me.
Yeah.
This guy has $10,000 in the bank, so he's very easily able to give me cash for first and last month's rent.
Right.
And this person is having trouble coming up with it, but they've got a decent credit score.
Right.
Okay, well...
Right. As a landlord, there are two things I want. I want you to not wreck my house. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you're not crazy, or I don't have a bad feeling about you. You present well, because that's the Ken and Barbie element of the getting the apartment in Toronto or New York or whatever. And I want to get paid back. I think the paid back thing is probably secondary with a landlord. Mm-hmm. I'm not a landlord, but I've rented enough places to know that when I've met with those landlords, they're looking at you.
Yep.
Right. And they're watching, they're looking at you like you're looking at me right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what's this guy all about? Because I'm not saying credit isn't important in that. They want to get paid back. But really, what people ask me about when they come in is, can I get a house or an apartment down the road? Yes, you can.
Yep. Yeah. And the credit score is not the first thing in a landlord's mind. Sure, it's important.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Of
if
course
you got a whole bunch of bad debts and you got all these judgments against you, you haven't dealt with them.
Especially if a whole bunch of them are landlords.
Yes, then you got a problem. But ultimately, cash is much more important.
Yeah.
So now, one of the other pieces of advice we saw was that you should take out longer loans.
Right.
So I don't even know if I understand that, but I guess the theory being,
maybe we use the car industry as an example.
Okay, tell me about cars.
So what's been happening with cars in the last few years?
Longer and longer.
Longer. In fact, I believe I read something recently where 50% of all car loans in Canada are now 84 months, 72 months or more, or something like that.
Like 7 and 8 year car loans are very common now.
Normal. Yeah,
very
it's
common.
Half of it now.
Yeah.
And of course, that's only trending to be more, right?
Well, and it's simple math. I can only afford to pay this much a month.
Well,
$400,
and that's why
I'm going to drag it out over.
That's why they don't talk about monthly payments anymore. Like, it's old school.
Yeah.
They went from monthly to biweekly because it looked better. $168 biweekly. And it's funny because when people come in to see us, that's what they say, because it's in their head.
Yep.
So I ask them monthly. Well, everything's monthly, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, well, okay, so it's $172 biweekly. I'm like, that's $350, and they're like, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's always the reaction, right? But then, of course, they went to weekly. 81 weekly. Doesn't that sound nice?
It's almost free.
It's only $81. It's under $100 times 4.
Yeah.
But that's part of this is like, take out longer loans. Well, they're doing that, aren't they? And I think something we're going to see as a result of this is going to come back to haunt the car industry in the next few years, in my mind.
Because there's going to be a whole lot of cars coming off financing that
big
are worth
time.
nothing.
Did someone we know write something about that?
I'm just trying to think if my book has anything about all this, everything we're talking about.
For those of us who are only listening to this and not watching,
this
Doug
is
is now flipping through the index of his
This
book.
is the part where we do the commercial for Straight Talk on Your Money. And
that was subtle.
That was really subtle, I thought. The whole point of the book is, yes, you got to step back and think about it. So when the car guy says to me, it's only $81 a week, and you go 81, that's a low number, that sounds good. Right. What is really happening?
81 times 52 weeks times 7 years. Yeah. Right?
And so for a $30,000 car, I'm going to pay $47,000 or $50,000, whatever it is.
Yeah. And should you ever roll that into your next one?
Yeah.
Then see how bad it gets.
And we see that all the time. I mean, not so much here in downtown Toronto because most people don't have cars down here.
Yeah, it's not so much here.
It's not possible. But in my outlying offices outside of the core, it's very common. So my 3 years comes up at the end of my lease.
Yep.
Oh, I'm over the mileage. No problem. We'll just take the $5,000 you still owe, roll it into the next one, roll it into the next one. If you've done that 2 or 3 times, you end up with a car.
But the lease mileage thing is awesome. It's brilliant. I mean, whoever came up with that, kudos, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna give you an allowance of 20,000 kilometers a year, but we know you're going to drive 35. Yeah. So you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper. So taking out longer loans, the reason they tell you to do that is your payment will be lower.
Yeah.
The real answer is your interest will be higher.
You're paying more.
Yeah,
you're not paying more now, but you're paying more.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, okay, last one on my list here. Start getting credit cards as a student. And, of course, you already referred to millennials at the start of the show. And, of course, I'm pretty sure everybody watching has watched our documentary. You were actually filmed in this very room for that documentary, as I recall. Yes. And we talked about millennials and how they're burdened with a whole lot of student loan debt and other things. And this has been going on since my generation. So this is not something new.
Yeah, I'm Gen X, and when I walked into Frosh Week, in 19, there were
See,
5
I knew
tables.
we'd need the bleeper button here at some point today.
There were 5 tables set up, and it was the big 5. Now, I'm sure now it's 12 tables.
The big 17,
but but now, when it was them, and so basically, you picked a color.
Yeah.
I like green.
Yeah.
So go to TD, and then you're there for life.
Yep.
Because the issue with that is that it becomes habitual. Early on, when you have no discipline.
Get them while they're young.
Yeah, like you're in university. What could possibly go wrong with a credit card,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's the worst possible time you could have it. However, I saw a guy about 3 weeks ago who came in, and we were talking about credit cards and stuff like that, of course. And he said, you know what? I never had a credit card till I was 30. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Because Benel told me that once. He said the same thing. He's like, I never had a credit card till I was 28 or something like that. And so people who have been through that experience, I think because they've cash flowed their life somehow, even through university, they've had enough time to know that they don't need that stuff. And that's how it's sold, right? You need a credit card. I just got off the phone with a guy who said, well, I don't know if I can do this. I need my credit card. Right? So,
yeah, I mean, how many people say to you, I took up cigarette smoking at the age of 42.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't start drinking beer till I was
all
57.
The bad habits they get you early, right?
They start young. And I don't want to make it sound like we're saying that credit cards are bad.
Yeah.
Because credit cards are a piece of plastic. I mean, they are a tool.
It's a tool, yeah.
And I liken it to fire. Well, fire is a pretty good thing in your fireplace, not so good if your fireplace
when used
burned
properly.
Down.
Credit cards are not only good but probably critical.
Yep.
I mean, you can't do much now, right? Because that's, anybody who's in their 20s who comes in to file with me now, I got to have a card. Can I do this? And we talk about secured cards and stuff like that. But I've got to have a card.
Well,
and you kind of do.
Yeah, but we also tell people that there's these things called Visa debit cards, which is a debit card. The money has to be in your bank, but because
it's a 16-digit card, which is the equivalent of a credit.
And so if I need to pay for my Netflix subscription or something else, Uber. So Uber, it's it's there. So
try telling somebody they can't use Uber anymore. And they can, of course. But that's the idea is, and I'm terrified to do this because I need that card.
And online purchases, but of course there's PayPal and a bunch of other ways to do it. So I think our central message here today is, again, we've said it many times, you got to step back and think.
Yeah, you do. And I just want to address one thing that caught me watching those videos, because this is beauty. One of the other bloggers, she says, you have to have at least 7 bank accounts. And here's why.
Yes.
Okay, and here's why. And so she goes through all the buckets that their family uses. Now, first of all, her house is a mansion. I noticed. I couldn't help but notice. Like, she's not living in a crappy little apartment. And so here's what she says. Also, make sure you take at least 10% of your income every paycheck and put it away for yourself. Great. That's the paying yourself thing.
Yeah.
However, what I took away from all that advice was that this is great advice for people who don't need it. If you're well enough off to have, to be sitting down and going, maybe I should have 7 accounts and do this and this in my mansion, and then put 10% of my paycheck away. 10%, like that doesn't sound like much, but if you're making $5,000 a month after tax as a family, and you got 2 kids, that's $500. No one has $500 when they need it. Right. And so now you're saying, okay, $250 twice every month. Like, so, and it just struck me as like, that's great advice for someone who would never even need the advice in the first place. I think, right?
Well, and I totally agree that having multiple accounts isn't a bad idea.
No, it's not.
But it might not be a good idea either. What makes sense for you?
At least 7.
Yeah. What makes sense for you? Yeah. So I've had people who said, I've got one account that I buy my groceries with, and I put the money in there, and that way when I go to the store, I know how much money I've got. Yeah. Perfect. I got no problem with that at all.
Compartmentalizing finances makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the envelope method or the jar method, except you're using bank accounts. Yeah. But how hard is it to keep track of it? What are the service charges? If it's an online bank and there's no charges, fine. Yeah. But does it make your life easier or better?
Right.
So
and there's there's a lot of background stuff there, like you mentioned, charges and all these other things that happen. And what that does is that gives you an awful lot of balls to juggle. So, okay, I got the sense that she doesn't go to a day job. So maybe, okay, if you're sitting in your great big house and you don't work all day, I could do that. Sure, I could.
That'd be great.
I'd kind of be bored, actually. But like, I think for people who are like, they're both working, they got kids in daycare, like it's just everything is just time pressure. Like, how are you really going to do all that?
Well, and that's the problem with multiple credit cards, too. What day is it due? When do I have to pay it? How do I set it up?
And how many times do we see that? Do people present us with that, right?
Yeah,
like
all the time.
I'm here to file my proposal so I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like for a lot of people, like this is psychosomatic, this stuff, right? You got 10 credit cards, like he's saying, and you're juggling them all like crazy all the time. That's not a lot of fun.
No, and they're all payments a different day. Yeah. So 10 different times during the month, you got to come up. I only get 2 paychecks a month, but I got to. Right. So I think we can wrap it up by saying, I mean, unless there's any other points you want to.
I wanted to hit that one.
We could keep going here, I'm sure, for a while. But the basic point is this. Just because someone has a podcast and a YouTube channel doesn't mean they necessarily know anything. Yeah. But they might. They might have brilliant advice. Right. In fact, someone who's lived it has probably got better real life experience than someone who's got book learning. But whatever the advice is, you got to step back and think about it and say, does this make sense for me?
And why am I doing that?
Why am I doing it? Yeah. Why is the other person telling me to do it? And that was a big theme of my book. What is the other person doing? Yeah. Why is the car guy wanting you to pay $81 a week?
Why does the bank keep why does the bank keep offering you more limits? And why does CIBC, after having been a client of theirs for how many, 40 years, 35, 40 years, keep asking me to put my wife on joint with on my visa?
Yeah, there must
Obviously,
be a reason
they don't know
for
what
it.
I do for a living.
Yeah.
But ask why they're doing that.
Yeah, put yourself in the other
joint
person's
debt is a great
shoes.
example for that, right?
Yep.
Like it's like, well, they got a co-signer for me. Well, they want 2 names they can go after, right? Ask why they're doing it, right?
Because they're asking for their benefit, not for your benefit. Yeah. And all the things we've talked about.
Same with all this stuff, right?
Every single one of these things on the list, they want you to raise your credit limit because, of course, you're going to borrow more.
Yep.
More credit cards, you're going to borrow more. You're going to pay more in interest. So ask questions, think about it from the other person's point of view, and you're much more likely not to get yourself into a huge amount of trouble.
And don't believe that just because someone's got a fancy video blog that means everything to all people, right? It's it's very tempting to go, oh wow, I got this great advice, and I'm just again step back from the whole situation, depressurize it. Right, don't do anything. Talk to some people, right? Because you might have people go, well, wait a second, because it's easier sometimes for another third party to ask you the questions that you should be asking, like why are you doing this? Why are you even doing this?
And the reason we do these videos and these podcasts is not to tell you the right answer that will work in every circumstance, but to give you things to think about so you can go back and say, okay, you know what? That's a different perspective on it. Yeah. So if you always ask yourself, what's in it for the other guy? You're going to save yourself a lot of trouble. Scott, thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
So our advice, focus on what makes sense for you. That's things like saving money, not having as much debt as you possibly can. If you can do that, you're going to end up in a lot better shape. And always ask yourself, what's in it for the other guy? That'll probably help you come up with the best answer. That is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next week, I'm Doug Hoyes. That was Debt Free in 30.